Hi YouTube, thanks for getting here with me today. Today I will go over my reasons for believing in the guilt of Thomas Bruce for the Delphi murders. 1. He was dressed like Bridge Guy when he committed the atrocious crime in St. Louis. 2. He looks like the sketch. 3. The crime in St. Louis was a sexual homicidal natured crime against women. 4. He used and owned handguns. 5. He sounds like the Delphi suspect from the audio down the hill.
I'm not relaxing, all right? Because you are being very aggressive.
He was having a heavy financial issues at the time of the Delphi murders, leaving him reason to travel. 7. He was a Christian pastor. Someone explain how that could be. He went into a Catholic supply store to rape and sodomize women at gunpoint? The sheer act of that crime says a lot about what's inside the head of Thomas Bruce. He's a liar. He hates women. It isn't his MO just to kill little girls. It's females in general he don't like. 8. To commit a crime like the one he committed in St. Louis, many investigators have said that the way he committed that crime makes them feel it wasn't his first kill. 9. I believe he had solid reason to be traveling through Indiana on February 13, 2017. Probably going to a family member's house to ask about financial help, possibly a place to stay for a time, or maybe a job offer in the future. It was hard times for the Thomases. So while it could be for any reason he was traveling through, those are the ones that stick out most to me. As a side note, I also feel that he plays into the Iowa murders, but that will not be covered here. But I bring it up because it shows he would travel for unknown reasons to kill while gone. I also believe him to be a drinker, and think that he would drink to build up his courage before attempting a crime like the one in Delphi. Thus his brazenness. 10. Prior to his arrest for the Catholic store homicide, he had also committed a sexual assault against a 77-year-old woman. Jamie, the cashier at the Catholic supply store, was 53. Abby was 13. Libby was 14. This shows hatred of females. Or at least it may show while he is drunk and or somewhat intoxicated. 11. He had never broken the law in any big way in the past.
It's just one of those situations when we got a case that this person's never apparently committed a crime before. That's what it looks like. I mean, it's a possibility he's done something, but we can't find no traces of it.
And I knew that they were looking for just that as well. 12. The FBI gathered and sent off Bruce's DNA right after his arrest in St. Louis because they had already contacted the eyewitnesses in Delphi and they had confirmed that Thomas Bruce was the man that they had seen at Monon High Bridge Trail on the 13th of February 2017. I also believe the DNA located at the Delphi crime scene matched other unsolved cases the FBI were working on. 13. The witnesses to seeing the suspect at Monon High Bridge Trail said, "I'm sure his eyes aren't blue." Well, Thomas Bruce does not have blue eyes. 14. His hair was reddish brown. But Thomas Bruce has gray hair and gray facial hair. However, if you look at his head in older photos, you can see his hair was a darker shade of color. And now his head is shaved. I must wonder why. Did he maybe have something to hide from a couple years ago? Here is an older photo of Thomas. Look at the hair color. Ready? Bam. Smiley face. I believe he drinks. He may drink to cover a mental issue he has, self-medicating. The alcohol then gives him courage to commit crimes like these, and he acts upon it. It would be just a guesstimate, but I would also assume he may have a mild form of schizophrenia maybe, possibly multiple personality disorder, maybe bipolar, mommy issues like Norman Bates, and so forth. Mind you, I'm not a professional psychiatrist. I just work part-time at it when I'm not solving cases. Now, I'm sure he left DNA at Delphi, which couldn't be matched. I suspect fingerprints as well. He was videotaped. His audio was caught as well. 2 other people seen him and gave details for this sketch. His foot tracks were also recovered, the time of day that it occurred, and he had never got caught committing a real crime prior to his arrest in St. Louis. Now, with all of this evidence pointing at Thomas Bruce, why haven't they charged him with the murders of Abby and Libby? This is easy right here. They have went in every direction to keep this case in good solid order and not blow it for the prosecution. And they will charge him with the murders as soon as they can speak to Thomas Bruce and draw a confession from him. They want, and I quote, a written and verbal confession. Thus it will seal the deal for the prosecution and have him ready for Carroll County Court and a plea of guilty. A confession seals the deal. Thusly, they went out to Colorado to talk to Daniel Nations. They couldn't speak with him because Daniel's public defender stopped them. So they extradited Daniel Nations back to Indiana to then talk to him right before the one-year press conference. And even after they had talked to him, he still remained a person of interest. Now then, there were good reasons why Daniel Nations was a good person of interest. Law enforcement knew it, as did I. And so would anyone else if they had given a serious look into him, his family, his legal history with women, public masturbation, stalking of women, and small trails used no less. Pretty creepy. If you seriously missed out on why Daniel Nations was such a good person of interest, I would advise staying the fuck off of Facebook. For your own sanity as much as anything else, that place is where a wise man would stay clear of if looking for anything of use on the Delphi case. So, on Thomas Bruce, being under the charge of 17 crimes in St. Louis, also has a public defender. And I am sure as shit that public defender would not allow Indiana State Police to walk in and just talk with him about a different crime in a different state. Thus, it will have to wait for Indiana State Police to go down and talk with Thomas Bruce. That may be a while, and they will want a confession. Firstly, more than anything else. Now, I know all of the public evidence. I have gathered even more of it than what they've handed out. Some things I know from being prior military police. Also took 2 years of criminal investigation while in the Army's Military Police Corps. I've never used that knowledge to gain any job from it, but I do use it almost daily when looking into problems that have no answer. I know investigation at least to a good degree. I have lived on both sides of the law, and I think that makes for a good mindset when looking into criminal issues. I also wish to point out that law enforcement never mentioned he drove a vehicle. We may find out why that is once he goes to court for the murders of those 2 little girls. But Sheriff Lesenby even told me, "You're right, we never mentioned a vehicle." It may be because he had parked away from the trails toward Delphi. There was 2 people that parked at Freedom Bridge that could have seen his vehicle if he was parked there before they started hiking, yet no vehicle was ever mentioned, which is odd, because if law enforcement knows a vehicle type of a suspect, it's generally one of the first things they will mention to the public. So that did strike me as being very odd. I may have missed a point or 2 in this video, and I'm sorry if I did, but this is what I shall call my rap sheet on Thomas Bruce. There are those little questions I have remaining that I cannot answer at this time. But this much is true to me. They will come back as Thomas Bruce. This is Michael J. Katt. Only handing out good tasty pig, never a shit sandwich offered. Know that. Peace.